that by trying easy, by not getting attached to the outcome, by treating this like an experiment, like a game, I'm actually getting better results than I did with my YouTube channel when I did do the striving and trying hard and obsessing over the numbers. So it's not that surrender means you're not going to get the results. You might actually get better results because your attitude is different, because you're flowing with life and you are not too attached to the outcome. In a way, this podcast, whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening to it on other podcast platforms, this podcast is a surrender experiment for me. One of the things about surrender is that you do take action. Surrender does not mean giving up and not taking any action, but you take action with ease. It shouldn't be like striving and straining and stressing about the outcome. It should be just like flowing with the river, right? Flowing in the direction of the river, downstream, not upstream. So that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. And so far, it does feel very easy. It does feel like I'm flowing in a river with very little effort. So before, I've had a YouTube channel for 5 years. And before, I used to put in a lot of effort. I would spend hours writing my scripts and creating thumbnails and editing the videos to make them look very perfect. And also in the shooting itself, I would do so many takes and retakes. If I ever fumbled or something didn't come out right, I would repeat it and do many takes to get it to sound just right. But now, since I started this podcast in February of 2025, I don't worry so much about perfection because I keep reminding myself that I have to try easy, not try hard, and I have to take action from a place of just flowing and not trying to be perfect. And as a recovering perfectionist, this is a challenge I gave to myself. Many times I would feel the tendency to re-record something, and then I'll be like, no, it's fine. Let the listeners see the imperfection. That's fine. I don't need to look like a news anchor with perfect scripted voice. I'm just going to speak however the words come out of my mouth, as long as they make sense, and that's fine. So that's where this podcast and YouTube is helping me to surrender. Another way in the past when I did YouTube is I would take it so seriously. And a part of taking it seriously was like I said before, doing the retakes and writing scripts and editing them, trying to make them perfect. Now I don't write scripts anymore. I'll just have one idea and I'll just write a few bullet points, jot notes, and then sometimes I look at them, sometimes I don't even look at them, because I try to treat this as a conversation, as if you're my friend sitting across the table from me and we're having coffee together. So what would I say about this topic? Which anyway, all these podcast episodes are things that I would love to sit down and discuss with a friend anyway. So that's the frame of mind I get in, that when I speak, when I'm on a coffee date with somebody and I'm speaking with them about my favorite topics, which are spiritual topics, surrender, all that sort of stuff, what would I say? I would not worry about scripts or anything. I would just say whatever is flowing out of my heart. So that's exactly how I try to do this podcast. And before, I used to apply makeup pretty much every time I sat down to shoot videos. Now I'm like, I'm your friend, so I'm not going to put up makeup. I'm going to show you my real self. And sometimes I do. I wouldn't say I never put on makeup, but today I have zero makeup on. And I try to go with that attitude, with that ease of creating content and being as natural as possible, whether it comes to me getting dressed up or makeup or not makeup, and the way I speak. I'm trying to make it as natural and low effort as possible for me. So I think that is a part of surrendering for me. Less effort, trying easy and not trying hard. And another aspect of surrender is not getting too attached to the outcome. So I'm trying to get these episodes out and uploaded without worrying too much about the likes and the views and comments, all that sort of stuff. I do enjoy comments because I do crave engagement. So anytime you comment, I really enjoy it because then it becomes from a monologue to a dialogue. Like I said, it's like having a coffee with you. So when you say something back, it is nice to know what your thoughts are on a topic or whether you agree or disagree. I welcome differing perspectives too. So I'm trying now to not get attached to the outcome, which before, when I did YouTube earlier, before I started this podcast, I did look at the numbers, and it's so easy. It's so easy for the ego to get involved, and you refresh and look at the number of views, and then you compare one video with some previous videos. And sometimes it can get discouraging when you see the numbers going down, but I'm trying my best to not get attached to the numbers and not become a prisoner to the algorithm, which I had become before with my YouTube. And that's why I quit. I quit YouTube for 1 full year because I did feel like I'm becoming a prisoner to the algorithm, and the joy of creating content was kind of getting lost for me. So I gave it up. And then after a year of taking that break, I thought, okay, let me try something new. I'm going to start a podcast. And this time I can do it with less effort, with less or no attachment to the outcome, and just for the joy of sharing what wants to come out of me. Because for a year of not making content, there were things that just were like dying to come out of me. I'm just that sort of person that when I grow, when I learn stuff, when I grow spiritually, I have this desire, I have this burning desire to share it with somebody. And in my like people around me physically, all of them may not be receptive to hearing these sort of topics. So that's why I just put it on YouTube or on other podcast platforms. So whoever is interested will listen. And that way I'm not speaking to the wrong audience by just saying it to, other people who are physically around me. Okay, so non-attachment to outcome. And I will say that this is easier said than done, as much as that's what I'm trying to do. Inevitably, the ego will come in, and it will. So for example, one of my recent videos, not recent actually, one of my videos, it was called Why I Stopped Going on Spiritual Retreats. That did really well. It has about 34,000 views right now. And so the ego is sneaky, right? So it's like, ooh, look at my views, look at the graph going up. And then so many comments on that video, so much engagement. And then in those moments, I also have to remind myself to stay equanimous. I can't get too excited because I am doing this for the journey. I'm doing this not for the attention, not for the validation. I'm doing it just because whatever wants to get shared through me, and maybe that spirit, whatever wants to be spoken through me, gets shared. So I don't I just want to do it so that it flows. It keeps on flowing. I don't trap it inside me, whatever's trying to come out. So with that video doing really well, I had to again not get too attached to the extremely positive outcome that video was getting. So yeah, this is a lesson. This is a continuing lesson for me, this podcast. And I like that I'm speaking about the topics like surrender and non-attachment to outcomes, and by speaking about those, I'm able to practice it as well. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, but that's okay. It's all about progress, not perfection. So I'm also trying to be easy on myself and compassionate towards myself when I do get sucked into the numbers, when I do hit the refresh and see how the views are doing. Because after all, I'm human, so it's a work in progress, and that's all good. Another way that my ego will come in is that the ego loves certainty, predictability. So one time, some really good podcast ideas had come to me during meditation, just like a download, right? I wasn't like brainstorming or anything what topics to make next podcast episodes on. So because that happened in one meditation, then my ego was just wanting to repeat that because it wanted to predict how my next ideas will come. And so I would be sitting down in meditation and waiting for ideas to come. And sure enough, that's not how things work. So I did not get the next ideas for the next episodes through meditation. So then I noticed that. I noticed my ego trying to repeat that and predict that's how it will happen. But then as soon as I noticed, I was like, oh, look, my ego is getting attached to the way things will happen, the way the ideas will come. So then I had to give up my attachment that that's how my ideas are going to come. And so I just sat on my desktop here and started typing just to see, okay, what's coming. Let's just see if I just start sitting and typing. And that's actually how this podcast idea came to me, about writing about my podcast journey and how it's helping me with surrender and applying some spiritual concepts. So that was quite interesting. And it's interesting when I'm able to notice stuff like this and catch my ego red-handed in action. So that's kind of fun too. Sometimes we get in our own way by deciding how something should happen. So I was kind of getting in my own way by deciding that my ideas are going to come to me in meditation through downloads because that sounds and feels very spiritual. And then I was taught that no, you are not going to get in your own way by deciding how the ideas are going to come, right? Sometimes maybe I just do have to sit down with a pen and paper or start typing on my desktop and the ideas will come that way. I cannot predict. I cannot control anything. And another way I am trying to practice surrender and act from a place of intuition instead of ego with respect to my podcast is that normally if I'm acting from my ego, I would be thinking about, okay, I always need to have some podcast episodes ready to upload them every Sunday. And if I'm like running out, I'll get anxious. Okay, I don't have anything ready. I need to record. I'll get some sort of anxiety. And that can be positive too. Nothing wrong with that. But I am now trying to act from zero anxiety, zero fear, at least with this podcast, because like I said, I'm treating it as a surrender experiment. So I'm saying to myself that as long as I have ideas and topics that I genuinely get excited about sharing and that I think will be helpful to you, I'm going to keep on producing these episodes. And when I feel that there's nothing useful to say or that the calling to share is not there or it's not coming from intuition, it's just my ego telling me, oh, I have to continue to upload weekly, I am going to not listen to my ego's voice, my head's voice that says, oh, you must upload weekly. Instead, I am just going to listen to my calling and my intuition if that wants me to continue to make episodes. And if I come to the point where I do not have anything to share, I will just call it the end of season 1 and then maybe take a break. And when that calling comes again, when that intuition to share something, that strong calling comes again, then I will start season 2 of the podcast. So that's also how I am trying easy, not trying hard, and trying to not get any fears or anxiety about this podcast. And another way I think that I practiced surrender is that with surrender, we shouldn't get too attached to doing things a certain way. So when I started this podcast, I didn't know if it should be solo or I should invite guests. So I just said it in my very first intro episode that for now I'm going to start it as a solo podcast, but in the future I'm happy to have a conversation with guests who would be good fit to have these sort of conversations with, conversations around practical spirituality and surrender and unconditional joy. So I feel like there was also surrender there because I wasn't too attached that, oh, it has to be guests, and then with that would come the anxiety of, okay, now I have to find guests, I have to contact people. So far I'm doing this solo, but if opportunities come, or if just things align in such a way that, oh, I meet a person and I think that person would be great to have a podcast with, or you suggest a guest that you think would be a great fit for this podcast, then I'll do it. I'll have guests on the podcast. I'm not going to be rigid about the format of this podcast with respect to solo or not solo. So yeah, I think I like that flexibility. I like that non-rigidity, and I want to stick to that. So the final thing I want to say about my surrender experiment with this podcast is that by trying easy, by not getting attached to the outcome, by treating this like an experiment, like a game, I'm actually getting better results than I did with my YouTube channel when I did do the striving and trying hard and obsessing over the numbers. So it's not that surrender means you're not going to get the results. You might actually get better results because your attitude is different, because you're flowing with life and you are not too attached to the outcome. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have tried your own surrender experiment in any area of your life. I would love to hear. As I said, I love to have a dialogue instead of this being just a monologue. So let me know if you have something similar to share or something different to share.